Hello, everyone, and welcome to Justified Jewel Podcast. I am your host, Joanne Cox. It is so nice to be before you again today, and we are going through so many different topics, and we've got this chain thing going every day so that you are more aware of what's going on in the political world and how you can be a part of the missing puzzle. Again, I'm Joanne Cox, your host, and I can be found at justifieddjewel.com. And because we're coming on every day and trying to get you prepared for the political voting in November, we are here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I am so excited and honored to have our continuous guest, none other than Brian Winters. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Joanne. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, yes. And so I'm excited because I know what the topics are. And with that being said, the first thing that we're going to discuss today is right to repair. And I'm going, right to repair what? So let's dive in and tell the people, Brian, what is it? What are we talking about in a political sense?
Absolutely. All right. Well, let me start with just a brief overview. And my name is Brian, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to organize people in the 2026 election to collectively bargain for a better social contract all across the country, across all 470 congressional races. I'm asking people to vote together with one behind one specific set of demands, and that is the Populist Act. Populist Act is a legislative package. It's about 2,000 pages long, and it would address lots and lots and lots of issues in the United States today because Congress has kind of been dropping the ball for years and for decades. And so, drawing on my years in the state legislature, I compiled this big legislative package, and it's got, as I said, lots of solutions. And so, one of those solutions that's in there is right to repair. Now, right to repair has been an issue in recent years where people buy products and then they find out later that maybe they can't repair them, or they find out that if they want to fix them, they have to go to a dealer or something and pay big markups on
Mhm.
parts and on specialty services in order to fix something that in theory they already own, but they don't have the tools and sometimes even the permission to fix the things that they own. And so a number of states have addressed this on the state level, but we can do this on the national level. And so that is an important part of the Populist Act, is establishing right to repair.
Yes. And when you say right to repair, that sounds so controlling. And it's just like, what do you mean? I have this washer dryer, I have this refrigerator. Now you're actually saying, do I actually own it? I'm paying for it, or I did pay for it. You know, what does that mean when you can say, do I really own it?
Yeah. So one good example is farmers. Farmers buy these very expensive pieces of farm equipment. They might spend $500,000 on these new high-tech tractors that run on all sorts of complicated software. And then if something breaks down, they're not allowed to diagnose their own problems. They're not allowed, or they're not able to, pull out the codes to tell them what's wrong with it. They've got to hire somebody from the manufacturer to come out. The Department of Defense, we've talked about, what the Populist Act does for military family, for our servicemen. One of
Mm-hmm.
the issues that the Department of Defense has is sometimes when it buys products, it's not able to repair them. There have been cases where they've had to fly repairmen out to aircraft carriers when
Mm.
it could be something that could be easily repaired. But these contracts with some of these manufacturers, they want to lock people into spending more money instead of letting them fix their own products.
And that's exactly the way I see it. It is done on purpose for monetary reason so that they can tell you and say, you're going, in order for this to work, whether it's the farmer or the appliance person, you need me. And without me, because when you gave the example of the farmers with the expensive equipment, they are driving the tractor or they are driving whatever the fertilizing field is. They pretty much know what is going on, but yet their hands are actually tied. And we know this. And I would like to bring it home because of us that don't live in the farm world, but we want to help people of items that, not necessarily items, but mechanical things that we want to reach forth, but we know in our household those same things are going on. And I would like to give that perfect example that if you buy a refrigerator or if you buy a dryer and you have to have that filter, it's working perfectly well, but it is time to have a different filter, but they no longer carry it. Am I now penalized because I took care of my freezer, refrigerator, dryer? Because now I don't have it. They've stopped making it. What is that?
What that is an incredibly frustrating experience. And and so we can, so when you have a choice, when you go out and you buy a refrigerator, washer, whatever, you have competition, right? You've got
Mhm,
different manufacturers that you can choose from. And
mhm.
right to repair is to help reestablish that competition so that when something goes wrong, you have choices in how you get it fixed instead of the person who made it having a monopoly on your business. And so restoring people's, making sure people have choices and have options, especially with things that they've already bought, uh,
Exactly.
is part of honest trade.
Yes, and thank you. You used the word honest trade. So I appreciate that because I know that from this standpoint and what we're trying to bring forth, we didn't realize that we had a choice in this. Sometimes you can't ask questions if you don't know what and who, where are my resources? And I did not know about the Honest Trade Act. And there are so many things that all we do is you use the term is to get frustrated. But now that we know that there's something called the Honest Trade Act, then tell us more about in our voting rights. What title is this under? Because you're always telling us about these titles that we are not familiar with. I just want to know what do I need to do so that I can make that change and collectively tell people so that we're all together to make a change.
Absolutely. So this is the Populist Act has 13 titles in it, covering 13 slices of life in America, one for each
Okay.
of the original 13 colonies. And
Mm-hmm.
this, the right to repair provision is in Title 11, which is called Stack Honest Trade. I was gonna call it fair trade, but that kind of like has another connotation. So we could throw
Okay.
some ideas and said honest trade.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so that consumers, have choices, have options,
Mm-hmm.
have knowledge about what they're buying. One of the there's all sorts of products related to this, and there's a gentleman in Iowa who's running for U.S. Senate named Josh Turek, and he's got a genetic condition. He's in a wheelchair, and
Okay.
so he's a state legislator, and he fought for the right to repair his wheelchair, and spent
Yeah.
some years fighting for that in the state legislature before he got it passed. And so we've included that provision in the Populist Act. So it'd be a federal right to repair of wheelchairs as well as all these other issues, the cars and the ATVs and farm equipment and
Mm-hmm.
appliances and all these sorts of things. If you buy them, then you should be able to fix them. They're yours.
Exactly. And in saying that, I'm not going to say if, when this is passed and this is beneficial to all, will then the manufacturer have to put it in your, the little, it's not a contract, but you get the warranty and all the things that go along with it. Will that then include that to let everyone know that with this here, you have the right to have this repair. You have the right to look at these resources to get the filter you need or whatever it is you need. That would have to have that in writing for us. Is that correct?
Yeah, so a little more of the details. This was based on Lena Khan, who was the chair of the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, a few years ago. She put together a sort of a proposal for right to repair. And I took her sort of outline and turned it into actual legislative language, the precise
Okay.
changes to the United States Code. And so what it would do is this section would require manufacturers to provide people, repair shops as well as owners, provide them with the parts, provide them with the documentation, the service manuals, the technical details. If there's specialized tools that are you needed to open things up, like they have to make those tools available,
Mm-hmm.
access to the software and the materials necessary for diagnosis, for maintenance and repair, and to make these available on fair and reasonable terms, right? Not to say, oh, you need this special little screwdriver it's $800, right?
Yeah.
You got to be on fair and reasonable terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm believing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if when this does take place, it would also have more jobs because now it would be no such thing as you can no longer find this anymore because they stopped making it. That means that they would now have to continue to make everything that you need during the duration of your appliance or the farmer's need. And to
Yeah.
me, that's all that seems like a win-win to me.
Yeah, and so there'd still be a limit on it. And so the way that it works is for covered products that cost between $50 and $250, they'd have to
Okay.
provide these things for 5 years. If it's above $250, then for 10 years. And for like cars and heavy duty vehicles and things like that would be up to 30 years. So
Oh,
still they don't have to do it, for 1,000 years, but they can't just, change them and stop supporting them right away.
okay. As usual, I have a personal issue, and this is how this would work in when it comes to being able to repair something. Okay, you buy an appliance, and then they ask you if you want the extended warranty, meaning that the warranty usually is good long enough that it's still new, so nothing is wrong and going wrong. But if you don't get the extended warranty, as soon as that warranty ends, is when you actually need some assistance. Now you're having to pay for that extended warranty, but if you don't, now this repair person has to come, and that's a different fee. Wouldn't that still go up under what we're talking about today?
Well, it's maybe sort of related. It sounds like this is a personal experience you had, something breaking down right after the warranty expired.
Yes, and I can't fix it, and it's not on the warranty. And if someone comes out to look at it, then there's a fee, and then they tell me what I need. And then when they tell me what I need, then it goes back to the beginning of this conversation. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. We don't have that. We don't have it on our vehicle, or they no longer make it. Come on. How do I know that's true?
I don't know, but there's a
You
lot
don't.
of information on the internet these days, right? Sometimes you can take your part numbers and track down a supplier, somewhere
Mhm.
around the world who'd be willing to ship you something.
Yes, yes, and in hopes that that is not a scam as well. So my thing is to be very knowledgeable, know your sources, know who to talk to, when to talk to, and before you even go out to buy an appliance, make sure you know all of the information that you need to know because you're thinking about this wonderful new gadget that you have. Why not think about what is it going to be like 5 years from now? So that is my suggestion is to just make sure you know all the details. And when you get it, make sure you know and read the warranty because a lot of times it says it's no longer valid after this, or you need to call it in to make it valid. Now you paid for it, but you did not read the directions, and now it has passed that date and it is no longer available. It is no longer, what's the word that I use? They will no longer honor it. That's it. And so, with that being said, Brian, give us a summarization and let us know about what we've covered under the right to repair, and
Yeah.
then give us our plug for the next time
Okay.
episode.
So again, so right to repair would establish a national requirement that manufacturers provide owners and repair shops with the tools and the techniques and the parts that make those things available so that people can repair the products that they own. And again, this is just one of hundreds of different policies that are all lumped together into one legislative package, the
Mhm.
Populist Act. And so I'm demanding and asking other people around the country to join me in demanding that Congress pass this before the 2026 election. And the
Yeah.
deal is pretty much straightforward. If Congress delivers before the election, then my campaign will try and help them keep their jobs. Red team and blue team alike. This is about whether or not they can deliver, trying to help them succeed at improving the quality of life for every single American. Now, if Congress is unwilling or unable to pass this legislative package, then my campaign will help their challengers who are supporting it, help them get into Congress with the understanding that they're going to pass this when they get into office, and with the knowledge that in 2 years, they had better deliver before the 2028 election, or the same consequences will fall to them. So we can fix the way democracy works in this country by directly bargaining for ourselves with Congress to pass the policies that will transform life in these United States. You can learn more about it on my website, votewithbrian.com.
And our time is running out, not just for this episode, but to get all these things passed. So make sure that you're being proactive and getting the job done and understanding what needs to be done. But I would like to thank you right now for being here. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to bring a friend. These issues are so important. But we have another episode coming up. Brian, I wanted you to tell them the next episode.
Well, a couple days ago, Joanne, we had talked about government surveillance. And so I thought we could do an episode about how the Populist Act will rein that practice in. So that's what we'll talk about next time.
I'm excited about that. I have a lot to ask. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye bye.